Hi, hello friends. Although I started my career as automation developer, I didn't had that opportunity to work with professional testers during the initial stage of my career. But at later point of time, I had an opportunity to work with professional testers. My working experience with professional testers was seriously brilliant and I really loved the way in which they tested the automations. I couldn't even think about those kind of scenarios at all. But they were able to think all those scenarios and they were able to test those automations in and out thoroughly. For example, let's say that there was one automation which has been developed for a requirement in a way that if the end user is going to send out an email, based upon that email, the automation has to be triggered. Automation should understand the context of the email and then automation has to be triggered. The way in which they tested this automation was really brilliant. Especially they were testing all kind of exceptional handling cases. They wanted to really know how does the system behaves in case of the error handling or the exception handling. For example, I have already defined a template that the users will send email only in this format, but they have tested that automation in a way that, for example, what if some junk value is present in that email? What if the actual value which is expected is not present in that email? What happens if an empty email is sent? What happens when the keywords which are required for the automation to trigger is missing? Likewise, they came up with crazy ideas to test that particular automation developed end to end by an engineer. You need to understand this concept very clearly. The automation was end to end developed by engineer. The code, everything behind that automation is developed by an engineer who is a developer, art code developer. And who is testing it? It is being tested by a professional tester. Now let us come to 2025 or 2024. The fact is going to be very simple. Developers will have less time to do the development. The coding is going to be done mostly by the AI. Generative AI is going to generate more and more code. The role of developers is to understand what the code it generates and fits to the requirement. But who is going to play a major role in this artificial intelligence era where coding is going to be done by the AI to some extent is the professional testers. Testers are going to test the code which are developed or generated by the generative AI and modified by the engineers or made some touch up by the engineers. These guys are going to test in and out thoroughly before it goes into production. The role of testers are going to be very high in the world of generative AI, where coding is not done by the actual developer. So actual developer may not know the consequences, or he or she may not know what exactly that was generated fully. It might satisfy their requirement, but what happens in all negative scenarios? What if the same code has been hit by multiple times? How does the code reacts? How does the system reacts? So overall, if you take, many people are saying that coding is dead or developers will have less time to do the development, is what many people are saying. But I would say testers have going to be to play a key role in the world of generative AI. The developers who are now developing will have to think more from a testing perspective, and I always recommend to have a professional tester being tested thoroughly. I would not encourage developers to do the testing, because testing mind is completely different and developers mind is completely different. If a developer is going to do the testing, developer will do only safe testing. Only a professional tester will do in and out testing of the application or the code that is being developed. In those days where code was developed by engineers itself was tested thoroughly, then just imagine how much we have to test that particular code which is generated by AI and modified to some extent by the engineers. It has to be in multiple aspects. It has to be in aspects of safety, security, and in aspects of performance, in the aspect of the quality of the output, in angle of error handling. Likewise, there are multiple aspects, additional aspects. I would say, like earlier, if the test cases was 20, now the test cases would increase to another 20 or 25 or 50 test cases. In a nutshell, the time taken for development will reduce, but the time taken for testing will increase. The responsibility of testers will increase in the world of generative AI. It is always good to have a traditional tester in your team, especially if your team is a development team, and especially if your team is using generative AI to generate the code. Okay, so this is my message to the testers. You guys are going to have pretty amazing time in the world of generative AI, as well as the responsibility on you is going to be very, very high. With this note, I'll complete this video. Thank you so much for watching. Look out for my other videos on the generative AI or artificial intelligence in my YouTube channel. Thank you and have a great day.